Welcome to the first of a series of videos that will help you with each week's remediation packet. And your first packet has to do with addition and subtraction with integers. And the first question is, well, what are integers? The definition of integers is very simple. Integers are all whole numbers and their opposites. Well, first, what's a whole number? A whole number is the nice pretty numbers that nobody's really afraid of. Starts at 0 and works up from there like the rest of the counting numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth, all the way to infinity. Integers are all of those numbers and their opposites. So the opposite of positive 1 is negative 1. The opposite of positive 2 is negative 2. The opposite of positive 101 is negative 101. And 0 is its own opposite. Again, still sort of all the pretty numbers, right? No fractions or decimals, nothing rational, just whole numbers and their opposites. Let's think of a few more examples. Okay, I have a list of numbers here. And what I want you to do is just take a moment, press pause, and identify which one of these is not an integer. Did you say 1/2? You're right. 1/2 is equal to 0.5, but most importantly, 1/2 is not a whole number. It is positive, but it's not a whole number, therefore it cannot be an integer. Now let's move on. On this slide, I just have some basic advice for doing mathematics in general. 1, work on math the way you read. Work from left to right and from top to bottom. Next, I like to decide on signs first and numbers second. That'll make more sense in a minute. At this point, hopefully you're thinking, hey, let's get started. All right. Our first problem here is 4 plus 7. Now what I want you to do is identify. We really need to think about the numbers that we're looking at and what we want to do with them. Both values are positive, so is the answer. 4 is positive. It has an implied positive sign in front of it. We only write something there when it's negative. The omission of the negative implies that it's positive. So positive 4 plus positive 7 is positive 11. See that? Since both values are positive, so is the answer, or so is its sum. So now you're thinking, okay, that was easy. Give me another one. Next, let's focus on the identification. Both values are negative, so is the answer. Signs first. I think about my sign and I get that out on the paper first. Now, negative 4 and negative 7, these are two negatives in a row. And when I have two negatives, it's going to be the sum, right? It's the sum of the two values. 4 and 11, or 4 plus 7 is 11. So negative 4 minus 7 is 11. Now, I have this kind of tucked away down here. This is where I want to rewrite. Sometimes working hard is the only way I can avoid silly errors. And what I have here are a pair of double signs. I don't like double signs, so I'm going to be willing to rewrite this problem. Negative 4 and something to do with 7. But what's the sign? Well, when I look at a positive times a negative, positive times a negative, those are opposite signs, I yield a negative. And again, I still have something very similar from above. Negative 4 minus 7 is still a bigger negative answer, and the sum is 11. Okay, and now hopefully you're saying, well, I'm ready for the tricky stuff. Well, you got it. First, let's make an identification. The values have opposite signs. 4 is negative, 7 is positive. I look to the left of the number to see its value. Now the answer will carry the sign of the larger number in terms of absolute value. By that I simply mean this. I don't care that 4 is negative or 7 is positive. I'm just looking at the numbers themselves. Is 4 or 7 bigger? Hopefully you say 7 is bigger. Now 7 is positive, so the answer will carry the sign of that larger number. So I know that the answer is positive. So right now I'm going to put positive in there, but generally I would just omit that. I only place something there if it's negative. Now, the rest of this is just what I would refer to as old school subtraction. What do I mean by that? 7 minus 4 is equal to 3. Big number minus small number. I'm not thinking about the signs that are over here. I'm just thinking about their absolute values, and 7 minus 4 is equal to 3. So the final answer is positive 3. Negative 4 plus a positive 7 yields me a positive 3. All right, again, tucked down in the bottom, a very similar problem. Positive 4 plus a negative 7. So first, I have that double sign. I want to rework this problem to get rid of that double sign. A positive times a negative is a negative, so now I have 4 minus 7. So again, I'm thinking, who's bigger, 4 or 7? 7 is. When I look at the problem, is 7 positive or negative? And hopefully you're saying it's a negative. So, is the answer. Now, again, old school subtraction yields me 7 minus 4 is equal to 3. So this answer, notice the difference between the two answers. When 4 was negative and 7 was positive, I had a positive 3. When 4 is positive and 7 is negative, I have a negative 3. Very simple. If the bigger number is negative, their difference is negative 3. Anytime we're doing something with two different values or two different signs, we're always going to choose the difference, i.e. subtraction. So again, try to be willing to rewrite when necessary, when you have double signs. Okay, so I just put a little note here for you. Double signs equals a rewrite. We want to avoid silly errors in mathematics, and that is best done by working in a neat and organized structure that is often repeated. I slipped the word often in. And now I know what you're thinking. Let's practice some more. All right, well, you have a handout full of practice, but I'm going to do a few more with you. Okay, here's a couple of examples. First, let's go with that identify piece. Now, what do we see here? What I notice is that we have some double signs here, so I want to rewrite this. That's going to be negative 3, and a positive times a negative is a negative 5 equals, well, now I have two negatives, so since I have two negatives in a row, my answer is still negative, and it's the sum of both of those numbers, negative 8. Next, negative 6 minus a negative 4. Again, double sign, so I'm going to rewrite negative 6, and then a negative times a negative is a positive 4 equals, and now I have numbers of different sign values. 6 is negative, 4 is positive, so the answer is going to be the value of the larger number, so I just think about the two numbers, 6 and 4. Who's bigger? 6 is bigger. Is 6 positive or negative? 6 is negative, so is the answer. And now, old school subtraction yields me a 6 minus 4, which is 2, so my final answer here is negative 2. So we got negative 8, negative 2. Hopefully this is starting to click for you. Now, we have 3 terms. So let's refer back to my advice. And that advice was to work from left to right, top to bottom, and now I'm going to add in something else. Take a minute to press pause and write this down. 2 terms at a time. That means I'm only going to focus on these two. So I'm just going to write the plus 5 right here because I'm not going to deal with it at this point. Now, I have a rewrite because I have double signs, so that's negative 8. Positive times a negative is a negative 3. Now, 2 terms at a time, plus 5. 2 negatives yields me a sum of a bigger negative. 8 plus 3 is 11. Now, I have 11 and 5, so I come over to the side here. 11 is bigger than 5. 11 is negative here, so is their difference. And 11 minus 5 is equal to 6, so the answer, final answer here is equal to 6. Let's try it again. Left to right, rewrite when I see double signs, 2 terms at a time. All right, that means I'm going to take these first 2 terms. That's going to be 4 plus 12, because I have 2 negatives. A negative times a negative is a positive, plus 13. All right, 2 terms at a time. 4 plus 12 is 16, plus 13 is equal to 29. Final answer. Notice I'm working vertically. It's easier to work vertically. I'm going to avoid using a calculator too. I want to practice all of my basic arithmetic skill while I'm doing this. So I'm looking down at this problem. I'm thinking that I'm going to have to rewrite 42. I got my double signs. Positive times a negative is a negative. 15 plus 7. First two terms are what I'm going to rework, so the 7 just comes down. And I have two negatives in a row, so that's just a bigger negative. And I say, uh-oh, I need to add 42 plus 15. I need to know what their sum is. Well, then I come off to the side, and I just add them. 57. See, I already have my negative over here, so I really didn't need to worry about it. All I had to concentrate on was finding the sum of 42 and 15. I knew that the sum of two negatives was a bigger negative. Now, I have 57 and 7. So who's bigger, 57 or 7? 57 is, and 57 is negative. So is their difference. Old school subtraction yields me 57 minus 7 is 50. So that's the difference. Done. Or I guess I'm a little inconsistent. Circle your final answer or put a double line underneath it. Whatever makes you happy. Now you have some pretty good advice in case you were struggling on the integer packet on how to go about things. If you need any further questions answered, feel free to stop in the Math Lab. Bye-bye. See you in the next video.